My supervisor tried to ruin my career, but I had receipts. They say you never forget your first year of teaching. For me, it wasn't because of the kids. It wasn't the sleepless nights, the lesson plans, or even the crying in the staff bathroom between IEP meetings. No, I'll never forget it because someone tried to ruin my career before it even started. And all I had to fight back was my paper trail. My name's Rachel, and in 2015, I was 24 years old and starting my dream job, teaching special education in a small but notoriously underfunded school district in the Midwest. I was passionate, optimistic, and terrified. You don't really understand how broken the system is until you're inside it. My students didn't just come in with IEPs. They came in carrying trauma, neglect, medical needs, language barriers, and the scars of a system that had already let them down. Still, I loved it. I loved the chaos, the tiny victories, the whispered, "I did it," from a kid who hadn't spoken in 3 days. That's when Jay arrived. He was 5 years old, but built like a 7-year-old, tall, lean, with eyes that never stopped scanning. From the moment he walked in, I knew we had a runner. Elopement is every SPED teacher's nightmare, and within a week, Jay had bolted 5 times. Out the door, into the hallway, once out of the building entirely, and halfway down the block before a custodian caught him near the crosswalk. I was shaking. I filed the incident reports. I called his guardian. I flagged every single form. I knew we needed a 1-1 para immediately. That's when I met Mr. C, my new supervisor, my first real taste of district bureaucracy, and my future nightmare. He smiled when I came to him with my request, nodded, took notes, told me, "We'll make this happen." But nothing happened. And what started as delay turned into something much darker. Because 2 months later, he tried to make it look like I'd never filed the request at all. At first I thought Mr. C was just forgetful. He was managing multiple schools. He looked constantly frazzled, shirt untucked, Bluetooth headset always blinking, juggling 3 binders and a coffee cup that hadn't seen soap in a decade. He told me the process for securing a 1-1 para was complicated, that we had to build a case, collect weeks of data, frame everything carefully. Word choice matters, he said. We don't say elopes, we say demonstrates escape behavior. Less alarming. I did exactly what he told me. I tracked Jay's behavior with timestamps, duration, trigger events, and reinforcers. I logged every elopement. I called home. I met with the school psychologist. I ran weekly check-ins with the OT. Every time Jay ran, I logged it within the hour. After a month, I submitted a preliminary packet to Mr. C. He reviewed it with me and nodded through the pages. "This is solid," he said. "We're close. Add 3 more weeks of data and send me a final copy." 3 more weeks passed. More elopements. One time, he made it all the way into the faculty parking lot. The security guard yelled at me, not realizing this wasn't negligence. It was understaffing. Finally, I compiled the completed documentation, 26 pages. I submitted it to Mr. C in a neat email with bullet points and attached PDFs. He didn't reply. 1 day passed, then 2, then 5. I followed up. I called. I even left a sticky note on his office door. Nothing. That's when things got weird. He stopped making eye contact when he saw me in the hallway. He began skipping our scheduled coaching sessions. Once, I passed him in the teacher's lounge and said, "Good morning," and he pretended to be on a phone call. And then, the email came. "Request denied due to failure to meet submission deadline." I read it 5 times, sat perfectly still at my desk as my students sorted puzzle pieces in the background. The deadline? I had confirmed the deadline. He had given it to me. I'd submitted everything, early. I pulled up the email receipts, timestamps, attachments. I even remembered uploading the final packet to the shared district drive, because the files were too big to send all at once. So why was he claiming I'd missed it? Something didn't add up. I sat at my desk for nearly 20 minutes, staring at the monitor. Was this a mistake? A system glitch? Or was he— No, that wasn't possible. Was it? I forwarded the original email again. Subject line: Final Safety Net Submission. Student J. I included the original date stamp, just in case. Still no reply. Instead, I got called into a meeting. Not by Mr. C, but by the principal. I walked in, nervous, palms sweating, thinking maybe she'd heard about Jay's near escape from the gym last week. But what she said next stopped me cold. Rachel, there have been concerns raised about your organization and communication with district SPED leadership. My jaw dropped. Excuse me? She pulled out a printed copy of the denied request. This documentation was reportedly never received. The concern is that a child was placed at risk due to procedural delay. I could feel my face draining of color. He's lying, I said, before I could stop myself. The principal raised her eyebrows. Rachel, I'm not saying you did anything wrong. I just want to understand what happened. Mr. C says he never got your documentation. I didn't even blink. I opened my laptop, pulled up the email, and slid it across her desk. There. Sent 5 days before the deadline. And here's the document folder on the district drive. Last modified 2 hours after he reviewed the draft with me. She stared at the screen for a long moment. Would you be comfortable sending this to Mr. B? Absolutely. I walked out of that office shaking with rage. He wasn't just ignoring me anymore. He was building a case, painting me as incompetent, dangerous. If the principal hadn't been fair, if I didn't have those receipts, I could have been written up. Or worse. That night I couldn't sleep. I stared at the ceiling for hours thinking about how quickly things had turned. I thought about Jay, how easily he could have been hit by a car that day in the parking lot. I thought about the other teachers. How many of them had run into the same thing, but didn't have proof? And I thought about Mr. C. How comfortable he must have been throwing a brand new teacher to the wolves. He didn't just want to avoid responsibility, he wanted a scapegoat. He picked the wrong person. I didn't just want to protect myself anymore. I wanted the truth out. The next day I booked an appointment to speak directly with Mr. B, Director of Special Education Services. I didn't go in blind. I came armed. I printed every single email I'd exchanged with Mr. C. I included time-stamped screenshots of the district drive uploads. I highlighted every unanswered message, every ignored voicemail. And I added something new: anecdotal accounts from other SPED teachers at nearby schools. After that meeting with my principal, I'd gone digging. Quietly. I reached out to 3 other first-year SPED teachers I'd met at orientation. One of them, Melinda, answered almost immediately. I thought I was the only one, she said. Turned out she'd had a very similar experience. Different student, different paperwork, same result. She sent me screenshots of emails where Mr. C had claimed she never submitted necessary behavior logs. She had. Twice. Another teacher, Jamal, shared that he'd been blamed for failing to properly report apparent escalation, but he'd left Mr. C 3 voicemails and submitted a formal report. All ignored. There was a pattern. I organized it all into a clean PDF portfolio and delivered it to Mr. B's office with a cover letter. I didn't accuse. I documented. 3 days later, I got an email from HR. Thank you for bringing this to our attention. The district will be conducting a full review. I felt a knot begin to untangle in my chest. In the meantime, the emergency 1-1 para for Jay was converted to permanent. Marcus was assigned to my room full-time. Jay started smiling more. The number of elopement incidents dropped to 0. It wasn't perfect, but we were making progress. 1 week before winter break, I was pulled into another meeting. Mr. C was being placed on administrative leave. I never saw him again. He didn't even clean out his office. Someone else came to do it while we were out for a PD day. Later, I heard rumors that the audit had uncovered 3 years of mismanaged documentation, that multiple student support requests had been buried, that he had a tendency to silence new staff to cover his back. My name was never mentioned. But my receipts? They were the spark that lit the fuse. Winter break came and went. The hallways were quiet when we returned, like the building itself knew something had shifted. A new interim supervisor was assigned. Her name was Ms. Ramirez, calm, sharp, and refreshingly direct. In our first meeting, she reviewed my classroom files and said, "You're thorough. You've clearly been through a lot." I almost laughed, but it felt more like relief. Under Ms. Ramirez's guidance, our SPED team began operating like a team again. Protocols were actually followed. Feedback was real. We got support, not silence. But even with the changes, the weight of what happened didn't disappear overnight. There were days when I still questioned myself. Wondered what would have happened if I hadn't documented everything. If I'd just let it slide. If I'd given up. I didn't. Because of that, Jay got what he needed. My students were safer, and the system, flawed and slow, got a little bit better. A few months later, I ran into Melinda and Jamal again at a district-wide PD day. We grabbed coffee and compared war stories. That's when Jamal said something I'll never forget. "You know, we should have been watching each other's backs from the beginning. The real threat wasn't the paperwork, it was being alone." He was right. Teaching is isolating enough. SPED, even more so. You're constantly being told to do more with less. Less support, less time, less patience. But what happened that year taught me something I carry with me to this day. Silence protects power. Receipts protect people. Every new teacher I mentor now hears the same advice. Keep your records. Save your emails. Document it all. You don't need to be paranoid, but you do need to be prepared. Mr. C never resurfaced in our district. I did some digging later and found out he tried applying for a consultant role in another state. The HR rep called our district for a reference. Mr. B personally responded. He didn't get the job. Poetic justice? Maybe. But more importantly, the students who came after Jay didn't have to deal with his negligence. And the young teachers who came after me had a slightly clearer path to support. That's what makes it worth it. So yeah, maybe I'm a little petty. Maybe I printed out that apology letter and pinned it inside my desk drawer like a badge. But I earned that. Because when someone tried to throw me under the bus, I didn't just dodge it. I drove it back over them with facts. And I didn't just survive that year. I stayed. I fought. And I made it better.